The time is just gone 8:30 a.m. and today, September the 16th, marks 40 days of one of the most horrific massacres that we had seen. And today we are remembering Sabra and Shatila. And for many of us who will recall this massacre that had taken place, and this was together with Israel and the Phalange, who ordered obviously and orchestrated this heinous massacre in the two Palestinian refugee camps in 1982. And some of the architects of this massacre, Ariel Sharon, one who had suffered for years and years before he had actually died, he was implicated. When we look at it, this was under the direct watch of the then Israeli Prime Minister Menachem Begin, and there also he is also dead, but none of them had expressed any remorse for the killing of this of the people in the two Palestinian refugee camps. And until today, no measure of justice has been received, and the victims and those who survived and those who are the survivors of the victims still carry the scars of this physical and psychological wounds that they experienced 40 years later. And this morning, we're joined by human rights defender coordinator based in Hebron, Badee Dwaik, who has been to South Africa. I've had the pleasure of meeting him. And once again, I have the pleasure of seeing you once again, my brother Badee Dwaik. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and welcome.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah wa barakatuh, my brother, for you and for my brothers and sisters in South Africa. I really miss South Africa.
Yes, Jazakallah to you so much for joining us this morning. And obviously, it comes at a very, very difficult time. We're talking of how time flies, and one cannot imagine that 40 years later, 4 decades have passed, buddy, and we will still remember Sabra and Shatila and the massacre that had unfolded.
Yani 40 years in the anniversary of the Sabra wa Shatila massacre. The massacre against the Palestinians actually is never stop and never end, and we as Palestinians live in a big massacre. The massacres ongoing in our life, and it start like since the British mandate. The Palestinians, they are struggling, and they are resist to just to exist in their land, and by means of the struggle, the Palestinians faced a genocide efforts from Israelis, and also even before by the British, the Palestinians, to liberate from the occupation. So many massacre it's been done against the Palestinians. And Sabra wa Shatila, it's one of this is massacres being happen against the Palestinian in Lebanon when the Palestinians they are forced to leave their lands after the Israeli Zionists killed many of Palestinians in their lands, and forced them to leave their homes and become refugees all over the world. And some of those refugees they went to Lebanon, and the Israelis after that it was not enough for them to steal their land or to steal our land and kill many thousands people, and also 7 million Palestinian refugee become refugees. It was not enough for them, so they invaded also Lebanon, and they did this. This is massacre, and there were about 3,500 Palestinians have been killed, and this is disgusting and horrible massacre.
Well, certainly, and also, when one looks at those who had orchestrated this massacre, the architects of this massacre, people like Ariel Sharon, who we know had suffered for many, many years before he had died, and also people like Begin, who was the prime minister. And you speak about the British, we're talking about the Queen of England, who is now going to be buried. But again, all of them, they've come, they've gone, they've died, but none of them have actually taken
All,
responsibility for these massacres against the people of Palestine.
all, all of the Zionist leaders there were they get their positions in the bridge of the Palestinians. They use the Palestinians' suffering and the blood as a bridge to reach this is positions to be prime ministers or measure of the army. Ariel Sharon, it was not enough for him. What is did the massacre in the Sabra and Shatila was not enough because Sharon was also did many other massacres. He did also massacres against the Egyptian soldiers in 1973 and also sorry, 1967. And also Sharon himself, also he did Sabra Washatella and was part of it and contribute with it. And he is a person, he was charged when he the first invasion for the Al-Aqsa. When he was invaded the Al-Aqsa with thousands of soldiers and police with him. And then we had the second intifada at that time. Begin he was also the prime minister when this massacre happened, and Begin he got also a prize, Nobel Prize, as a peacemaker, and also Shimon Peres. He was did also Kana massacre, and there were about 100 people was killed in this is massacre when Shimon Peres was also in the government, and Shimon Peres also he was received a prize as a peacemaker. So we as a Palestinians, we are facing an ideology that those people grow up in an ideology adopted by them that Palestinians shouldn't be exist and they have to kill as much as they can from the Palestinians, especially in Palestine, because they consider Palestinians they are not exist, and that's why there is a political Zionist movement when they start to call it for a home for Jews. They were considered no people living in Palestine for people living around over the world without state. So the all the Israelis leaders they are participate in the massacres and killing the Palestinians and contributing with killing of Palestinians. Not only Sharon, not only also Begin, not only Beres and Barak. Many there are many names. Rafat Itan, many names that were contributed in the killing and massacres against the Palestinians because all of those leaders they are coming from the same ideology point or the ideology home that believe that Palestinians shouldn't be exist in this is land and should be target the Palestinians everywhere to target them and to kill them. And that why is the Palestinians when I am saying that Palestinians they are actually now defining their existence because Palestinians they are passing one of the most difficult times in their resistance or their life or their history because the Israelis they target the existence the Palestinians and they want to erase them from Palestine and that's why all our resistance now come just to prove ourselves in this is land and to keep catch up with this is land and to resist to exist in this is land. This is one of the most important that our resistance feeding our cause.
Well, certainly, and all of this is taking place under the watchful eye of an international community. And I'm just looking at my screen right now where I've got a message that says the United States is just as culpable for the suffering of the Palestinian. Without the U.S., there is no Zionist state. Now, this is a comment from a listener, and it's not only about the United States of America. You mentioned Britain, and we've even seen with the appointment of the new British Prime Minister, the latest one, who offered unconditional support to Israel. And we know the world is mourning the Queen, who have been 70 years in power. The Palestinians have been suffering for well over 70 years, and all as a result of the mandates that were given by Britain, the split up that had taken place, giving Palestine to Israel, the massacres that have taken place. So, when one remembers even a person like the Queen, one should not forget that they presided over a time when people were massacred. And it's not only Palestine, we've seen it in Africa, we've seen the Mau Mau rebellion, we've seen Kenyans that were slaughtered. Now, when the world mourns someone like this, they should
you
also
know,
take into account the responsibility that they need to share for these massacres.
my friend, my brother, that when there were a launch a campaign against apartheid regime in South Africa, and many of governments in the world joined this is campaign, but there are some five countries and USA and the UK and Israel and other two countries. Those countries wasn't part of this is launch against the apartheid regime in South Africa when the people they were resist and to liberate from the apartheid. Those same countries who still give also Israel a blind support, not just support, a blind support to Israel, despite of the suffering that Palestinians they are suffering, despite of that Britain they were also give or they offer for Israelis or to the Jews the Balfour Declaration, the promise, and also America they adopted Israel, supported Israel with $3 billion every year for nothing, just an offer, and also money, also an advanced military and arms to Israeli occupation. And other countries still give, and governments, they still give money for this is Israel state to continue. So thus they give the blood for the Israel to continue their occupation. So the condemn, when they are talking about condemn or statement condemning Israel, actually this is just a fact. This is just a game. But in reality, those countries are still giving support to Israel, and you see that Israel still remember in many institutions in Europe. They are remember the football match. They are remember in the Euro Vision and many other institutions. That means that they consider Israel part of from Europe. In the same time that Israel they are in Middle East. So this is really show you is the double standards, which is this international committee they are playing with the Palestinians, and we already all our brothers, sisters, and Muslims they watch. Also, this is double standards how is it playing and applying in Ukraine. They are all aware the Western they are stand to support Ukrainians and they provide them with military aid and billions of money in the time that Palestinians actually during the 74 years they didn't got maybe 5% of this is support. The Palestinians, the International Committee, especially the Western, and I talk about the government. They are condemned the resistance of the Palestinians when the Palestinians they use all the means of the struggle against the Israel occupation. They condemned this as a struggle and they are criminalize it. In the time, does international committee they give empathize for a cat defending her kids and they are considered as part from the animal rights. Where is the Palestinian right since this situation? And
Yes.
it's just a double standards that international committee applied against the Palestinians.
Well, certainly. And also, I think, buddy, just finally, these are painful memories where we remember this day 40 years later. But again, looking at the Palestinians, looking at the courage, looking at the bravery that the people of Palestine have displayed. And there are many, and I've spoken to people in the past, intellectuals, who talk of the Palestinian people and looking at Palestine and looking at leadership. And they said that the leadership of the Muslim world will one day come out of Palestine and from no other country in the world.
Yeah, and we hope so that one day that all the Muslims committee and leaders they are united and they will recognize the real enemy for them. It's not their brothers, and we just need good leaders actually. We need people have the responsibility and to make decisions and to united the Arabs and Muslims in order that they can help the Palestinians to be liberated from the Israeli occupation because Israeli occupation is not it's not just led by Israel itself. It's also it's this is a project. Israel when it's been established in Palestine, it was part of from Western project. This is Western project. It's still going. The Western still support Israel to keep exist because Israel it's like used to a guard to protect their benefits and interests. So the Israelis, the Israel occupation actually just in the front, but behind of Israel, there are many Western countries and powers. They are support Israel to keep exist, and that's why we need also behind us as a Palestinians, we need all the Muslims and all the Arabs to be behind of us to face this is struggle and this situation because the situation is the matter here about to exist or not to exist, to be about to be or not to be. And the
Well,
Palestinians
buddy,
also decided to be and to keep exist and to liberate from this occupation. And we have the honor that to be in the front of the line of the resistance in the world against this is Zionist people who have very bad ideology and an ideology calling for hate and killing.
well, we will continue honoring and saluting the Palestinian people for the bravery, for the courage, and what the Palestinians, the responsibility that the Palestinians have been entrusted with, and to take care of the affairs of the entire Muslim Ummah, and particularly when we talk here about our first haram, and the third most important place in the world, and that is Masjid al Aqsa. So we will continue. We will continue with our
And
prayers,
the
our
Masjid
du'as.
al-Ibrahim considered the fourth holy mosque also.
Exactly, buddy. So, buddy, Jazakallah for to you, and as always, I appreciate you taking time out, talking to us, and looking forward to engaging with you, and also looking forward to another visit to South Africa from yourself, inshallah.
Inshallah, I hope so that I'm looking for this is day actually. I am always ready to contribute with my voice, with my resistance, until the educate people in South Africa and update them about what is going on here in Palestine. Always I make efforts to be commitment with Salam Media and all media in South Africa to keep in touch. And I hope that one day I come back to see the people face to face and to learn and to make more advocacy the situation and the question of Palestine and the matter in Hebron. Thank you very much for hosting me, my brother Inad.
Okay, it's an absolute pleasure. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and please take care.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah and a blessed Friday for all. Jum'ah Mubarak.
Ameen. Jummah Mubarak to you. Buddy Drake joining us and remembering the massacre 40 years ago, Sabra and Shatila. The time is just gone, 13 minutes to 9. We come back, we will be looking at Jummah inspirations. And Alhamdulillah, this morning we will be chatting with Maulana Nasir Mirazi, Dawah Department of the Jamiatul Ulama, KwaZulu Natal.